Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to a video about romances I'm obsessed with. So there's a couple things about this video quick before we get into the books that I'm talking about. Number one, I'm obsessed with a lot of romances and I, very quickly find myself sucked in to the world or into a certain couple and I just become obsessed with them and I love it. And I then tend to talk about those books a ton. So I think a lot of the books that I put on this list of romances I'm obsessed with, nobody will be surprised about because you'll be like, yeah, Jen, we know you're obsessed with it. It doesn't surprise us. But I've seen some of my fellow romance booktubers doing this video, and I was like, oh, well, that's a great idea. It's just an excuse to talk about some of my favorites of the year so far. So these aren't all like just 6-star reads because I didn't just want to bring up my 6-star reads. I'll do a video probably in June that's like all my 6 stars up to this point. But I just wanted to share some in case like I haven't gotten into your head enough that you should read them. And yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to dive right in. And the first ones I'm talking about are actually, it's going to be an author. And I'm sure you've seen me and Crystal's Bookish Life and some other channels who have been obsessed with this as well. Jessin from Jessin Reads Romances as well. Even though she hasn't been able to make as many videos, we have talked about it. Like her and I and me and Crystal, like we have talked about these so much. And so you might already guess. But the author that I'm obsessed with right now is Carissa Broadbent. Like, here's my beautiful stack. This is so fucking heavy. Okay, I'll break it down. Also, the day I'm filming this, her like newest book has come out. And I'm like really salty because I won't have time to read it until next week. So very salty about that. But I absolutely love her books. So I thought I would just do like a mini quick explanation of hers. Because she doesn't have like enough books where I need to do like an author deep dive or anything, but just to kind of give you an idea where you could start with her. So the first books that I actually read by her is I started with Daughter of No Worlds, which is the first book in her War of Lost Hearts series. This is my beautiful hardcover that I just ordered. It has like absolutely gorgeous designs. I want to get hardcovers in all of them. Number one, because Amazon does not do a great job with printing fat books. I don't know if you can see this, but there's like a ton of pages coming out of this one. And I think they just do a better job with hardcover. But anyway, no one's surprised. Anyway, so this is a trilogy, The War of Lost Hearts, Daughter of No Worlds. There are audiobooks for all 3 of these, which I highly recommend. I think they are on Anyplay. They were, and then they weren't now. I think they are again. You'll have to check it out. But either way, I was able to get them like when I had the Kindle to get them for just like the $7.50 like upgrade, which is a great deal because these are big. But anyway, these focus around Tessana and Max, as well as a mystery character that I won't tell you who because you don't know who this character is until you're quite a ways like into this book and into the next one. But those are kind of like the 3 characters that are being followed through this. And Tessana, she is a sex slave basically. She's a dancer. She has been kind of like relegated to that life and she's been trying to get her freedom. And when in the beginning of this book she has finally earned the amount of money that her owner said she needed so she could buy herself, when she presents him with this money, he beats her and basically leaves her for dead because he's so offended that she thinks she could have a better life away from him. He also never thought she could attain that amount of money as well. So she ends up being like, with the help of a friend, she gets smuggled out of there and she decides to go to, I think they're called the Orders. Yeah, they're called the Orders. She decides to pledge herself to them, and it's an organization of magic wielders that could be strong enough to destroy her former master. So she's going there to learn how to hone her magic because she does already have some innate magic in her. She wants to learn how to hone her magic and then be able to free not only her friend, but like all the slaves who are owned by these masters. Now, the Orders, they aren't so interested in freeing these slaves, but they are very interested in the powers that Tessana is showing. And so they assign her to Max, who is kind of a like disgraced Orders member, but he also was a hero. There's like a whole bunch of stuff about Max, like there's a whole bunch about him. There's reasons why he is grumpy and keeps to himself and just wants to tend his garden and be left alone until he dies, basically. But Tasana kind of like reawakens him in her like eagerness to do good. And though he thinks she is naive, he also can't help but be inspired by her hope as well. So that is how they get started. That is definitely not how it ends. There is so much more, but there is Daughter of No Worlds, Child of Fallen Gods, and Mother of Death and Dawn. And these are amazing. There also is a novella about Max, which I have not read because I think it would break my heart, but it's called Ashen Sun. So there's a prequel about Max that you can read if you would like to. So those are kind of all like self-contained. And then there is her new series that she started, which is the Crowns of Neoxia. And this is going to be a 6-book series. There also is one tie-in novella and one novel that ties in, that like all of those books have come out recently. So it starts with The Serpent and the Wings of Night. You'll have seen this explained as like a cross between The Hunger Games and of course ACOTAR and of course other things. Like those are what it says it's crossed with. When I read it, it really did remind me of like a vampire Hunger Games. That's really what I was getting out of it. We have this girl named, well, she's a woman. This woman named Aurea, and she is the human daughter of the vampire king, named Vincent, and she is of age and she's going to enter this competition where the winner gets a gift from a goddess. And she wants this gift because basically she wants to be able to stick around with her vampire father, and she is not like powerful enough to stick around, basically. Like I'm really simplifying this, okay, because I don't want to spoil anything. But when she enters this competition, there are members from the different houses. There's a House of Blood, the House of Night, the House of Shadow, and they all want to win to like take over and have more power. And someone she meets within this is Rain, and Rain is very dangerous, but they end up like pairing up with each other to compete in some of the challenges, because some of the challenges you need an ally or you won't be able to complete them. So that is how they connect. So then there is some crazy revelations that happen at the end of this one. We do get to the end of the competition in this one, so we see who the winner is and who the losers are. And then we're dealing with the fallout in this one, which is the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This one just recently came out. So the way these books will work, in case you don't know, this is a duet. So both of these books are about Rain and Aurea and like what gets set forward with them. So yeah, this is a duet. But there will be 6 books in the series. And each of the duets will be about like one of the houses. So like this one is the Crowns of Neoxia, and this one is the House of Night. I think, yeah, this is the House of Night. But there is like a complete kind of like happy for now HEA for Rain and Aurea at the end of this. And then that we won't really get more in this till next year because Carissa is about to have a baby, so she's going to be on maternity leave for most of this year. But she has lots of books that she has, like all these, there's so many pages to these books. You saw this huge stack. So this is the duet. The other 2 books that you can read, there is 6 Scorched Roses, which is a novella that the best place to read it, I think, is either you could read that first. You could start with 6 Scorched Roses because it's about characters we don't meet in the first book. But in my opinion, for like the best place to read it, either read it first or read it after this one, but before this one. Because the couple that we meet in 6 Scorched Roses, which I'm not going to explain anything about because it gets too much, but the couple that's in there, they are kind of prominent in this one, in book 2. So yeah, I would either read it first if you just want to get a taste for her writing, you know, that one's only about 200 pages, or read it after book 1 as like a palette, like in between these 2. Then she has the book that just came out today, which is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. This is going to be a part of a series about like slaying monsters, but it will fit into the Neoxia world. I have not read it yet. I don't know how, but I believe like that one you can read it like whenever, and it takes place in like a different part of the world. So I don't know, I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait to get into it. Like, oh, God, the way I want that book in my hands. I'm going to be gone for the weekend, and I'm thinking of ordering the book so that it'll like be here, because I really like reading her books physically. So anyway, I spent 10 minutes of this video about them, but I wanted to do kind of a mini deep dive and explain like why I've been obsessed with her. I've given her books either 5 or 6 stars. I'm obsessed. I really, really love her. I think she's great. The audiobook is out for The Serpent and the Wings of Night as well. So that's great. For big fantasy books, she has audios out. So those are, that is someone I'm obsessed with, someone I recommend. Whew, so let's move on. All right. When the Earl meets his match. So this is one of the one that's 6 stars. A couple of these on here are, like I said, I'm putting some of the 6 stars on. But this is one you may have seen in quite a few of my videos lately, and I just had to bring it up again because I love it. I'm obsessed with Stacey Reid. I was given a lot of her books for my birthday, and I want to get through more of them this year because I appreciate her writing and her characters. Her heroes are swoony and stoic and sometimes grumpy, but just amazing. And her heroines are also feisty and clever and smart. And it's my okay, I'm telling you, I say this, it's my favorite kind of feminism to read, when it's just the women are awesome. Like, there doesn't have to be an agenda to it. Women are just awesome. And I particularly love the heroine in this one, Phoebe, because she's found herself in quite a tough situation. She thought she was in love with her music teacher, and I believe that she was, because he was a good guy, but he does get very intimidated by her father and accepts a bribe to leave her. Now, he doesn't know that she's pregnant. She didn't have the chance to tell him that, and he really backs down from her dad when he scares him away. And so now she's left in the position of being pregnant, and her parents want to send her away and take her baby away and give it to baby farmers, which if you've read any historicals that have baby farmers in it, Lord bless you, it is the most horrible thing to read about. Like, sometimes the babies were straight up just thrown away, or else they were bastards of lords and ladies who were like given to other people. Like, Lorraine Heath has a whole series that was about like baby farmers, and it's intense. But anyway, she refuses to let that happen. And so there happens to be this man that she's been corresponding with through some events that get set up at the beginning. And this man is looking for a wife. She doesn't know that he is the heir to an earldom, or that she would be passing her bastard off. You know, like, I mean, she wouldn't have like lied to him, because she's 5 months pregnant by the time she goes to see this guy. So like, she's not hiding it. But she goes there to show up because she knows he's looking for a wife, and she's like, well, I think he's just looking for someone to manage his household and everything. Well, it turns out he is a mute son of an Earl, who himself is actually a bastard, but his father loves him. He is a grumpy, crotchety old Earl, but he loves his kids, none of which are by birth his own, but he loves them. And he wants his son to find a nice, scandal-free wife, because society is already going to be tough enough for him. The fact that he is mute and that his mother is crouched in scandal and like all this stuff. But when Phoebe shows up on his doorstep and does admit everything right away, this doesn't have any secrecy besides the fact that when she shows up, she hasn't told him she's pregnant yet. She tells him immediately. He thinks, well, this is perfect because I won't have to fall in love with this girl. I'll claim this child as my own, and it'll be great. And it doesn't have to be personal or anything. But the thing is, these two have amazing chemistry. And when she begins to be able to communicate with him, the things that she like learns about him and his family, like they are both in head over heels. And it's why I'm obsessed. The audiobook is great. This couple is amazing. And yeah. Hugh is his name. He's so swoony. So definitely obsessed. Then we have The Tryst by Lauren Blakely. This, I've said, like, this is one of the, like, ex's dad romances that I've been really impressed with. It's also not quite like an ex's dad scenario, because she's more friends with this guy who is the son of a guy she's had a tryst with at a conference. They have a spicy, like, nightstand. And they continue like texting with each other when he goes back to London and she goes back to her home. They had met at this conference, and they keep like messaging, and it's just really cute because he doesn't tell her that he is planning to move his part of his business to the States where his son lives. And he also, you know, he doesn't want to scare her with the fact that part of the reason is he does want to try seeing her because they just have this amazing connection. And Lauren Blakely really makes me believe this connection. I really believe it. And so when they run into each other, and at first they're so excited about it, and then she finds out that he has a son, and not only does he have a son, it's her friend and someone that she went on a few dates with. Like, again, the ex's son, that's definitely, or sorry, the ex's dad is definitely put in there to like fit a trope, right? But he's actually a really good friend to her, and they are going to be like business partners. So they're just like, wow, okay, hands off, we can't have anything. But because they've built this amazing like friendship and like connection, it's very hard to stay away from each other. And so I thought everything was handled with this. There's no third act breakup. There is obviously a bit of conflict when people find out about them, but the way that it was handled is honestly the best that I've seen an ex's dad's like conflict handled. Like, honest to goodness, the best that I've seen it handled. And so that's why I'm obsessed with it. The audiobook came out for this the same day that it came out. So definitely listen to that. I believe it has a full cast. I read an arc of it, so I haven't listened to it, but I hear it's really, really great. So definitely check it out. I am very excited actually as well to share Teach Me by LL Ash. So this was a book that it came across in my Goodreads for, if you don't know to do this, because people have asked me to do like an explanation of Goodreads. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't even understand it. I would feel so irresponsible making a video about how best to use Goodreads because I barely take advantage of it. But one thing that I do to help me is I follow the authors that I love, because then when you are on your desktop, particularly, it works better on your desktop, just straight up it does. You can go to browse books and you can go upcoming releases, and it will give you a list of monthly releases based on authors you've loved or books you've read before. And this was an author that I discovered like 2 or 3 years ago at this point. It was quite a while ago. And she had a book called, oh shit, what's the first one called? Him. It's called Him. And it was a friend's dad age gap romance, and I really enjoyed it. And LL Ash, I didn't see any other books coming out. I read a few of her backlist, and then there wasn't anything else. And then when I was doing one of my monthly searches for what's coming out, I saw that Teach Me was coming out. And it is the next book like in that series. So it's called the Sophisticated Seduction series. However, it's not like they weren't connected in any way that I could tell, except that they're like forbidden age gaps. Like that's what the click is. This one is a graduate student and her professor that she gets assigned to be his like student teacher. And he is a divorced, like I think he's like 42, single dad. He has 2 teenagers. And Mia gets assigned to be his TA, and they just have this amazing chemistry. And what I also love is that he is like, it's like a slow burn between the two of them. Not like a slow burn, like it's about like 50%, but they really like fall in love with each other's intelligence first. And so by the time that they're going to have something between them, like it isn't just they're hot for each other. Like they really care about each other by the time anything is happening. And it is like forbidden kind of because of it, but like she, I think, is like 25. Like she's a late stage graduate student. So it's an age gap, it's a life gap, but it isn't so much forbidden of like she's not 19, you know, like she's a woman, she's 25, she's a woman. And, you know, there is still a bit of taboo of like them, you know, being together at school, and there's some of that. But it honestly, if you're someone who can feel icky with student teacher ones, this isn't, because he's never like her teacher, she's his teaching assistant, like he's not like teaching her in class. I don't know, you can ring around the rosy at all, it still has the taboo effect to it, but it's not like, it's never like the ick where it's like a 40-year-old and his like 18-year-old college student. It's like she's 25 and yeah, he's in his 40s, but she's not being taken advantage of what you say. So I really enjoyed this, and LL Ash saw my review and she was kind enough to send me a signed copy of it, which was so nice of her. So thank you so much, LL. I can't wait to see for more. She said there will be more like in this series, so I can't wait. Then we have Nameless by Claire Kent. This is definitely an older one. I believe this one is almost 10 years old. Yeah, this book is 10 years old. Is one of Claire Kent's like older works. I'm super obsessed with this book. I love it so much. It is a surprise baby, and it's two people who, like, they knew each other when they were young. They end up having a one-night stand after a funeral, and then she becomes pregnant, and a few months later, well, it's not even too long, like, she's found out she's pregnant, and then she's thought about it. She goes and tells him that she's pregnant, says, like, I don't need you to be involved, I don't need anything from you, but I just want you to know I want to keep this baby, I'm not going to get rid of it, and you can be involved as much as you want. And our hero, Seth, he immediately wants to be involved, but he's a very wealthy man, he's a lawyer, he makes a lot of money. She actually works in the legal system too, but she is a, I can't remember what her job is. But yeah, she also has a lot of baggage because she is a divorced woman where her previous husband was very domineering, so she's very gun shy to that. So our hero, the way that he wants to take care of her and his, you know, unborn child is like throw money at it, help make decisions, do that, and she's like, I don't need you to do any of that. I don't want any of that. I don't want anyone being in control of me or how I raise my baby. And so there's a lot of back and forth with that. And then there also is a part where she wants to start dating again, she wants to be having sex again, and he's like, well, why don't you come to me for that? Because then you don't have to date anyone and I'll feel better about who you're with because it's me. So there definitely is a bit of like a sex deal in this. And then there is a part of the novel too, there's a good chunk of this novel too, which is after the baby's been born, and how they go about raising the baby together. This one has a pining hero. He has to grovel at some points, but it's also the hero falls first. And the reason he has to grovel has to do with how he kind of messes things up at a certain point. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, he wants to be with the heroine a lot and she's not interested. And so he kind of fucks that up. And then he needs to like fix it later on. So I am obsessed with this one because it is one of the like the realest scenarios that I've felt for like a surprise baby. And they make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of like uncomfortable things in this, but it also just made me weep for how real it felt. You know, like when our heroine is feeling, because there's some stuff too about like feeling bad about her body after the baby, or being unsure whether he wants to be with her, he just wants control of the child. Like those are all like such real aspects, but it's also just so romantic when things get going because it feels so real. Like it feels like you could be in these scenarios. It doesn't feel so out of left field that it can't happen. So I'm obsessed with Nameless. I love it. I love it. Of course, I gotta throw up God of Malice by Rena Kent. This was a book I read, my very first reading vlog I did of the year. This was a book where like I did a reading vlog where I like let people pick what I was reading, and one of the polls was for an author that I was nervous to read again. And you guys, by no surprise, people picked God of Malice. Like I was shocked that people picked this because people have been wanting me to read more Rena Kent, and I hadn't had the best experiences with her before. But this new series, which is Legacy of the Gods, I really like. It taps into a lot of the things within dark romance that I enjoy. And this one has a psychopath in it, and so a lot of the books in this series will be qualified as like bully romances, but this one to me, when there's a certain kind of psychopath, he's not a bully to me. Like he doesn't read like a bully because he's not doing it for like the joy of causing pain. Well, that's not true. He does like causing pain, but like he's not doing it for just the joy of fucking with her. He's doing it because he wants to understand, and he wants to understand people, and he wants to kind of play with her a little bit. What's also cool about this series is it's a second and even third generation series for some of the characters in Rena's world. And so that means that the type of damage that the heroes have, like why they're fucked up or why they're like this, it's not as simple as just like you had bad parents, because we read their parents, like they have good parents for the most part, right? I mean, not that her characters could be put as morally good, but like we know that they love their kids and that they care about them. It's not a case of like neglectful parents by any means. It's a case of other things that fuck people up. So this won't be for everyone. I absolutely understand that. But this was one of the best like psychopath romances, also taking place in like I think in this one, it's kind of college, but it's still like new adult. And it's of course like college made by these rich, wealthy people. So there's the Royal Elite University and the King's U. And it's kind of like the two kind of like warring factions within Rena Kent's world and their kids. So there's still like some mafia ties thrown in, there's dark stuff thrown in, but it's also an interesting case in this one because also something in bully romances that will be like unbelievable for me, because it's either your parents have to be awful or like some other reason why the heroine who is being bullied or being picked on wouldn't tell her parents. And this one has a very like believable reason for me for why the heroine doesn't go to her parents, because again, we know her parents are good. They would help her. They would burn this man if they were asked to. So there needs to be a legitimate reason why the heroine like won't go for help, and I feel like Rena Kent touches that very well. And then the last one I want to mention, and this was another one that I was so kind to get a copy from the author for loving the book. Like, guys, that is something that never gets old and I never take advantage of. And so thank you so, so much to this author, who also happens to be an LL Meyer, for sending me this. It was so sweet. She also did a giveaway for my birthday, which was really sweet of her. But anyway, this is Under a Northern Sky by LL Meyer. And this is a standalone within a series she's going to be doing, but this one has a perfect like wrap-up AGA in it. And this one is about Rena and Luca, and they are like, it's in like a barbarian time. It's kind of in a fantasy world, like not fantasy for magic, but like a made-up world type of thing. And Rena is getting sent to marry Luca, and on the way there, she has to do something to survive that gets her accused of a crime. And so when she shows up on the doorstep of Luca, she immediately gets put in like lockup, and he has to decide whether he's still going to marry her or he's going to kill her for this crime that she committed. And I say that because she had no choice but to do it. And there are a lot of people trying to conspire against this relationship happening. And so her being stuck in this position is just exactly what their enemies want to happen, you know? Just exactly what they're hoping would happen to them. But Rena, she has lived through more than Luca can even like, that he even gets. He thinks she's this pampered princess who's being forced to marry him, the like barbarian leader. And really like, she has lived a horrible life. She is maybe a princess in name, but she has not been treated as one. And so to go from like one prison to being sent to marry this barbarian who so far has only treated her as badly as she thought he would, it's fascinating. Like, it's literally fascinating. Okay, I adored this story so much because she refuses to be broken by him. She refuses to give in. She refuses to just say what he wants her to say because she couldn't give two fucks anymore. She's like, there's no winning for me, so fuck off. And he likes that about her, and he kind of hates that he likes it. So this one definitely has an enemies to lovers that is legit. Like, it is enemies to lovers. And for a good part of the book, I was so compelled by it because they're so feisty together. But I also was like, how is this going to break? Like, how are they going to fall for each other? How's it going to work? And it did in such a beautiful, beautiful way. This one is on KU. It's amazing. I'm so glad that I read it, and I can't wait for her to put out more in the series. I want more so bad. She does have some other books in her backlist, so I need to check those out. But this was excellent. It also was very spicy, and it also gives old school historical vibes. So if you like old school historical, this definitely gives you a lot of those vibes. It's also dark, like it's pretty dark romance in the way that some old school historicals are. But I love it, and I really, really think that you will too if you give it a go. So, all right, I hope you like some of these books or you're willing to give them a go. As always, I forget to mention this, but I'll have all the books that I talked about listed down below, as well as my affiliate links. If you choose to purchase them through that, it does give me a little bit of a kickback, like very, very minimal, but it's also, I find, convenient for everyone that if there's a book I talked about you're interested in, you can just open up the description and go right to it from here. So definitely check that out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.